3, 2.
Do you want me to board it properly?
Give me a board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Episode 8, A Different Human Design, Life and Business. Take 1.
Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous.
Hello, welcome back. Episode 8. Oh my God. Every time I sit here, I'm more and more amazed that we are still sat here. And today, I'm so thankful.
Oh yeah, well I did. I always believe. I'm the optimist of the pair.
We are so lucky to have in the building today, actually, in his very own building.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Jim Shields.
In my house. So, thank you.
In the house, yeah. So, Jim, you know Lindzi way better than I know you. I've just got to know you in the last few, about an hour. You are so interesting, and I'm so excited for people to hear your stories and get to know you. So, Lindzi, I'm going to let you introduce Jim.
How do we know each other?
We met when I first released Maga High, which I think was 2018 off the top of my head. It was around there. And I was looking for a bit of guidance as a creative, and I applied to a scheme that's run by, is it the Leicester Council?
Yeah.
And they put me in touch with Jim, and we had our first meeting in a coffee, and we just discussed all things creative and how I could create an income from my creativity was the kind of basis of that. I received the book that
I can't believe you've still got it.
I know. Well, I treasure it. I mean, it's got annotations in it.
I can't believe how many notes are in there. There's more notes than there is of what I wrote in that book.
Well, I mean, I found it really, really helpful. And I think what we understand now is the connection that I felt was potentially because our brains are wired in similar ways. So for me, finding that kind of mentor and somebody that actually understood me was really encouraging, because up until then I found I go into things full of enthusiasm and it's closed doors and misunderstandings, and
that connection is really important when it comes to learning from someone.
Also that inspiration that it's okay to be who you are, keep going, the right people will come to you and the right avenues will open up.
And the more you get to know yourself, and I'm a big advocate of therapy.
No, we're all about talking about it.
Yeah, no, but it's important. I'm blessed with a fantastic therapist who I've been seeing her for about 3.5 years.
Yes, what type of therapy?
Well, it's she calls it talking therapy because she thinks I'm a bit dim and I can't understand the proper names. a lot of boxes of tissues involved.
Yeah, and I can see why people maybe go into therapy and then think, nope, this isn't for me, and shut that door.
Well,
and you know,
I think I denied it for years. I was genuinely kind of, I don't think I've buried all that under 600 tons of military grade concrete. I'm not going there.
Yeah,
and that's what people do.
Yeah,
they think the way to deal with it is to just ignore it and put it in a box.
Yeah.
And actually, that it seeps out. It's like toxic waste. Eventually, it'll rust and go into the river, and that's it.
Therapy's been a really, really important kind of thing with the journey and the self-discovery. And that when I read this book and found the part where you'd said about ADHD being your superpower, back then, like a couple of years ago, for both of us, ADHD was a huge superpower, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And we still stand by that.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of journey through realising the struggles and the strengths.
Yeah. And the more you don't identify them as struggles related to ADHD. You just think, oh God, that guy was really unreasonable with me, or that meeting why did that go so badly? And the other reasons why things go brilliantly. I remember being at a big creative pitch meeting where the client was a huge American mobile phone network, and this was a big job. And my writing partner, my writer Rob, he and I create films together. We're in this scary situation where this board of people are looking at us waiting for ideas, and we pitched this document. It was terrifying.
Anxiety
and we did our tap dance, and we pitched 3 ideas and they didn't like any of them. And then he just sort of goes, okay, I guess you're on. And he steps back. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, or we could. And then suddenly the ADHD brain kicks in and goes, and it's just, and they picked one of those ideas.
That is something I say so often, creativity isn't drawing, it's not acting, it's problem solving. And when you've got an ADHD mind in your business, you will thrive. Because this whole board, we've seen it so many times, a group of people, neurotypicals, they think they know everything, coming up with ideas until you could just utter one simple suggestion and the whole room looks at you thinking, how did you think of that? And you think, well, it's the first thing that I thought of. I didn't try hard. And these minds are so useful. It's problem solving. And
I think it's a combination. I think there's a few things at work here. There is the idea to like have the Rolodex of ideas going really quickly. So there's a lot of options very quickly. There's also spotting patterns, and you will just see the problem in a different way, and you'll spot a pattern and a correlation, or I think there might be one. And you think, actually, if we step back, we can solve all of this by changing this.
It's almost a
behind
shortcut.
us. It's like a shortcut. Yeah. So the pattern, the millions of ideas a second. And
the adrenaline working in the fight or flight type response.
It's like, I don't want to lose this job.
Yeah, I'd better, make something work.
That condition of pattern spotting, I find that, in fact, it sounds really arrogant. I used to say I can see 15 seconds into the future. I sort of can.
I relate to what you're saying.
Because I know I'm looking at these things happening, this is going to go badly. Yeah. And nobody else is bothered. And why am I spotting this pattern that's about to happen?
Do you feel that makes you a good driver?
Yeah, I do. I agree. I do, actually.
Yeah, my husband has a perception in terms of driving. I know exactly what people are doing before they've even done it.
You just have a hint. You even judge the type of car it is. Yeah. You go, that is not bought by... We shouldn't.
Stereotype.
No, I know. Yeah, sure. But statistically, you're probably right that this person isn't a confident driver or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We judge to keep us safe. It's a survival instinct.
That's exactly
we need to be able to judge. Understanding that we have them judgments and not letting them affect other people is a different thing. So
it is, yeah.
Stereotype all the way if it keeps you alive.
So do you think that you're quite visually with my ADHD, I find that details, visuals, I'm very pleased by visuals, and I can get very stressed by visuals and things like that.
You can't leave it alone, can you, as well? I can't let that go.
People used to say that's your procrastination, that because I'd be like, before I study or before I do this, I need to sort this out. And they're like, you just procrastinated. No, for me, visually, if that's not arranged how I need it to be arranged, I won't be able to concentrate. It's like organising my brain on the outside.
Many years ago, I've had some fantastic mentors. I've had two brilliant mentors, a lovely man called George Smith in Manchester, who was a drama teacher. And I worked for him as a part-time job at the weekends as a court herald in a 16th century manor house, which meant I had to wear a doublet and hose.
ADHD people will have the craziest careers, by the way.
I feel like we need a picture of you.
I love that job. I don't know. I'll see if I can find one. I might have burnt them all. I didn't have great legs at the time. He introduced me to the subject of semiotics, which is the science and of signals and signs and indexes. Okay. It's about assessing. So it's like very Sherlock Holmes. It's like looking at somebody going, you've just had an argument at home and that's why you've come out. How do you know? Or just detail. Yeah. And the semiotics side went into that subject head first. I've been sort of studying it in the background for 20 years. Those patterns help me a lot in my job. They help me describe creativity to people. When people go, why is it like that? You can go, okay, here's 10 reasons. Because the semiotics helps you. If you think of if you're designing a healthcare logo, it's got to be blue or green. I remember a client that, not my client, was offended. Was that, I better kill that. what is it? It's the dishwasher telling me it's finished.
Go and get the dishwasher.
Is it going to keep doing it to remind you?
Hello, it's very needy. Yeah. It's a very codependent relationship.
We're leaving it in there. That's the only and all the staff are out today, aren't they?
The team, my entourage. Semiotics.
Hanging on to every word of that.
Well, the process of studying semiotics has meant I've got a language to pitch ideas, and also I've got you become hyper attuned to things in the frame, because I spend half my life just looking at a monitor.
Yeah, right.
And also helping the actors get to the place where they need to be to give a performance. All of that is semiotics.
Wow, okay.
It's a look, it's a micro expression.
Yeah.
It's it's the wrong tie, that guy in that role would not have that briefcase. Yeah. And it's little things that will annoy people like you watching it. You'll be like,
See, I did film studies, and And I always accredit that to ruining. I can't watch films now because every single film I watch, I'm like, well, that wouldn't happen, or they're doing that and that. Or, and you know, this semiotics thing, that's the first time I've ever heard that word. So I'm definitely going to be looking up. But for me, my background thing, like you said, you've got that these background interests, has been intuition. And what you're talking about is very kind of, it's same thing maybe, or similar.
It is taking your intuition and applying a framework to it.
Yeah, actually.
So it's like turning it into a science, because it's saying, you know, look at all the things all of the millions of creative decisions that have gone before, and you'll see a pattern. And you go, that's why healthcare equals Blue Cross or whatever. You know, fast food is red and yellow. It just is. And people try to break that at their peril because everyone else has learned those systems. That's why Japan was so. I've been to Japan recently. Just throw that in. And the systems there are different, and that's message up because it's a completely different planet culturally. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But
it's extremely clean.
It's amazing, and
just everything works.
You get a family going out shopping. It looks like they've had a team of stylists on them before they left the house. You know, the hair, everyone's perfect, and it's been colour schemed, and it's like colour me beautiful before you walk out the door. You know, it's unbelievable. Just everyone looks so stylish, and everyone's a supermodel. It's like I didn't see any people who could be considered overweight.
Yeah, seems like they're doing capitalism correctly.
They are actually, and they I mean, they've got other problems, but from a sustainability point of view and all sorts of, just everything is just so beautifully put together and makes sense. You know, even the toilets that wash your bum. Really amazing. That was a shock. Life. I wasn't expecting that. The whole thing about Japan was it was just so beautifully
put together.
But the systems were different.
Yeah.
So the semiotic system of a taxi had a green and a red light, and I just assumed that red means you're taken and you're not available for hire. Yeah. It doesn't. It's the opposite.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Some guy told me, he said, no, when they're red, you can just do that. Oh, when they're green, they're carrying on, they're on a job. No, that's nuts.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
We almost rely on these signals, don't we? Like red being danger, being
Well, do you know,
warning.
It's quite interesting in terms of the creative industry, because one of the things that I've always said my failure and with the books and things like that, because so many publishers kept saying, but nobody's reading this. I purposefully break those rules because I'd learned them in film studies, and then I read a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not following this convention anymore. I'm fed up with reading the same. Although I like that pattern and I like the familiarity, I also wanted to provide something new. And now you're making me think I am going wrong with that.
Yeah.
Because or maybe I'm trying to break
everyone
too
out
much
there
of
has
it.
learned this system. Yeah, fonts really important. Fonts vitally important.
So tell us what you do in terms of the production side of things, because we've touched upon, like you just mentioned something about being on set and things like that, and obviously we've got this lovely.
We missed a bit out.
Yeah, so like, in terms of like what you produce or what you help people to take from your work.
Okay. So I'm a filmmaker. My job is creative director for Twist and Shout Communications, and we're a film company and have been for 30 years. About 3 years ago, we were acquired by a training company to make innovative films that help change employee behaviour in companies. So that's my job. I love that job. I love the idea that you can just make stories, and now people look at the stories and now they do things better. Yeah, and that's very simple. That's
that you can improve somebody's anything
through a story, because we're hardwired to remember stories much more powerfully than a list of things on a PowerPoint slide or something like that.
Definitely, yeah.
So the storytelling thing is deeply rooted in my background in theatre and all of that stuff and TV production. 30 years ago, I started a company called Twist and Shout Communications, and a film production company, video production company. We did a lot of corporate work. In fact, it was nearly all corporate work. And we developed this idea that if you were to do stuff that looked like TV, employees would watch it because they watch TV when they go home. So that's what you're competing with. So we developed our skills to get better and better and better at matching the quality of television where we could. And we do a lot of internal communications for employees where our stories help them change their behaviour. They just remember it better through the story. And it's entertaining. You know, for any of you who've sort of sat in front of a training film
It's the worst part of starting a job, isn't it? You always consider not starting.
Yeah, just so I don't have to watch the health and safety video or whatever.
And it's been that same video since the 90s.
Yeah.
So it's incredible that
Peter Purvis is in it off Blue Peter. So
I think, I'm sure I remember that when we met, I'm sure you showed me an example of one of these films, and it's still stuck with me now, because it was almost like watching an episode of The Office.
Yeah. Oh, that was, restricted intelligence. That was
but learning about the things that could go wrong within the office, how to be a safe work.
But it was a sitcom.
Yeah, and it was brilliant, and that stuck with me all of those years, kind of thing. So
well, that's what we do. You can remember. I remember a joke I was told 30 years ago because it made me snort coffee down my nose. It's a visceral reaction.
Yeah, definitely.
We have like visceral memory, which is emotional. Yeah. Oh wow, that was funny or whatever. And then we have logical memory, which is I've got to remember these 6 bullet points. Oh no, and that's harder to embed. So we're just playing to the visceral memory all the time.
Yeah, we were talking, weren't we? I did a memory course with my dad ages ago. It was sold on the TV. It was a really strange thing, but it was actually really helpful. And I remember forever that it taught me if you relate something, a funny story or a scary story, you've got 10 times more chance of actually remembering it because it latches onto those deeper, like visceral feelings, like you said.
Yeah, and the story structure is what we're sort of hardwired to remember.
Yeah.
Because before they had IT, generations ago, to stop your kids running off into the woods, they'd say, we have witches and goblins who are going to eat you. So they'd scare the bejesus out of them, like, we're not going in the woods anymore. You didn't have to watch them all the time because they had the stories going around their heads like, we'll just get eaten by the goblins.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that's why we're socially hardwired to remember story structure. And
even you think all the ancient stories and the ancient history was all passed down.
Yeah, of course. They didn't have hard drives, so
yeah. So it's like it is hardwired into our culture as human race kind of thing to communicate via story.
If you go into cultures like in villages in South Africa, there are people who wander from tribe to tribe and put on a play.
Oh, yeah.
That tells people about what's happening in the world. It might sort of a news report, but it's a story. And there's other things as well, like health messages. Yeah. There are theatre companies specialising. It's a bit like theatre and education, but in a very energetic and musical sort of way. It's very different. It's the same principle where you travel this story through the land and people remember the story because they're not literate.
I've just got visuals now of watching the news, and the presenters have now got to act out the stories rather than present it.
Go on, let's role play this.
It's very. If you look at TikTok, the way they're getting people's attention now is actually having 2 videos on the same screen at the same time, and this is the neurodivergent society of. So you'll have someone talking like a normal TikTok video, and right below it will be like a kinetic sand video, or someone playing a video game,
or making a cake or something,
because otherwise people are realizing that the younger generation are just skipping. They don't want
one video. I was told that if you've got sensitive content, this fools the algorithm as well. There's another reason.
There's the reason it fools the algorithm is because they understand that young people are more engaged with it. So if they can put that more in front of you, then that makes them look better.
Right,
so yes, in turn it.
Okay, all right, it's a cheat sort of thing. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's that's the storytelling. So we make films for storytelling. 3 years ago, we got acquired by a training company in Florida, and they grew really quickly. And we pitched them an idea of a drama series, so not a comedy this time.
Yeah.
And this is
the
Inside Man. Plug. I don't know what I'm plugging it for because as an individual you can't get to it. But if you work,
it makes it even more like, oh, now I really want to see it.
Now
it's a secret club. Yeah. Well, that's it. We've had employees that have become such fans of the series. They've left, gone to another company, and persuaded that company to enroll. Yeah. To subscribe.
And that's such a clever business model that you've got. But,
stories are powerful. People get upset. They chase the IT guy down the corridor going, when's the next episode coming out? I need to know.
That's great.
There was riots in the street when Deirdre went to prison on Coronation Street ages ago.
It's powerful.
People really get invested. And if you can turn like a Breaking Bad situation into like The Wire or something into a boring training video, but actually really
the trick is to make the subject the backdrop and put humans in the foreground. Because it's really a show. Everyone says, what's the show about? I say it's really about family.
Yeah.
This guy in the middle is our hero. He is Mark. Mark is neurodiverse, very much so, and is the genius hacker. Fantastic. Was a bad guy in season 1, spoiler alert, becomes a good guy.
Yeah.
Has a kind of epiphany and realises that he's hurting people.
Oh, nice story arc.
So it's great.
Well, I mean,
Redemption arc.
even that's kind of real life, isn't it?
Yeah,
because we were speaking
definitely.
about how when we're younger, and we did this with identity, that you might try out identities, as it were.
Yeah.
And with the ADHD, I went through like a thieving stage, like which now I understand was my
too.
thrill seeking.
Trying to reach
Yeah.
your dopamine level.
Yeah. And what I mean, the reason I'm bringing that up is because, like this guy, you kind of do these things, realise that's against the law,
bad.
and then you have this
Definitely.
power kind of struggle in your mind of, do I want to be that person, or
Yeah.
have I got to really
Or where
fight
would this lead,
urge?
you know?
And how many of
Yeah.
these people go undiagnosed because they left school at 16 and their parents have got maybe like a garage job for them, especially males that end up in prison
Yeah.
or in hospital
Yeah.
before they actually realise that something
The
could have
whole-
been done.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They could have easily stayed
The
in
whole
school longer.
criminalised thing really stresses me out, because obviously
Yeah.
the industry I work in as well, like bringing young people up and through and trying to get them work ready. And you feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall, because you just think their path is already, there's so many markers to push them towards a criminalised addiction, marginalised society, mental health problems, and you just think, no. And these stories could be so powerful even for that, couldn't they?
Yeah, that's
I mean,
good
it says along the top, I don't know if you've had to see it, but fake life, real consequences. And I just think that is such a brilliant way to approach things, because, you know, how else? Because the thing I battle most is teaching young people to have an old head on their shoulders. Hindsight is a brilliant lesson.
It's almost impossible. I mean, depends what age they are as well. So,
Yeah.
because obviously they know everything at
Yeah.
16.
This is-
Yes, that's it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But, yeah.
So the thing is then, so you're a film producer, but then when we're
Director.
director,
Yeah.
sorry, and then when we're spoken, there's also
Get it right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
Excuse me. God, to be honest, producers have got a worse job. They have got the spreadsheets and the logistics. That is not me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so where I was leading with that is you've also got comedy in your background, singing in your background.
Yeah.
First line of the blues is always sung a second time. The first line of the blues, yeah, is always sung a second time. So by the time you get to the third line, you've had time to think of a rhyme.
Obviously, mentoring people and training people. You've got wardrobes in your kitchen halfway through being upside.
We weren't going to talk about that.
There are so
Lindsay.
many aspects to self, but I actually want to meet every single one. So please do not stop.
Multiple personality.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
No, I think, and again, learning as you go on and through therapy, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but learning why you do things is so important because it puts it into context. And on the good stuff, you think, oh, it validates it. And on the bad stuff, it thinks, I'll try not to do that because I know why I'm doing it. But the singing and the comedy and all of that, getting on stage and performing is partly, I think, sensory seeking, getting that rush. It's getting that massive dopamine hit off an audience clapping and laughing at you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's the
Fantastic.
best.
So the clap, I mean, any comedian will tell you that's a hard thing to achieve as a new stand-up comic.
Oh,
going
stand-up
up there.
it is, yeah. That's, you've won if you get a clap.
Yeah.
So your type of comedy is you stand up? Are you
It was-
again within the film role, filmmaking?
Oh, well, it affects both. With my friend Rob, we created the world's first sitcom about information security, which sounds like a dull subject, but it's not. It's a proper
Sounds
sitcom.
amazing.
It's funny. And so that was comedy writing and development there. We're still making comedies. We do a series called Clickbait, which is a sketch show.
Nice.
Again,
Fantastic.
or just set in, it could be at NASA or at a medieval castle. It's great. Sketch shows can go anywhere.
How do you cope with rejection sensitivity then and doing stand up? Because this would be I'd be like, crying like.
The reason I barely do.
Well, when you
anything,
die,
actually.
you die big with, I believe, with ADHD. I think you die in a big way.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well,
Everything hurts, doesn't it? So everything might feel good, but it also hurts.
I think though, because the panic sets in, and then it's like you had your set all mapped out, and somebody's thrown the tray up in the air, so that's all gone because you panicked.
Oh, God.
And that's happened loads of times. The number of times in when I was in musicals, I would be waiting in the wings to go on stage. I know I'm going to go on and sing a big solo song in front of 500 people,
Wow.
and I'm ready. I've
listening to
rehearsed for months. I've got it down. And as I step into the light, my ADHD brain goes, oh, you know, there are several options here. What? No, they're on. I've learned the song. And they're like, now let's try something else. Let's freestyle. I'm like, no.
It's literally, you know.
Yeah, it's all the voice going, hey, let's try something else. Let's try some hip hop. No, this is Hello Dolly, you know, or whatever. You know.
That is definitely the impulsivity, isn't it? And
you're drawn to that impulse. It's terrible. Oh my God.
It's almost a magnet, isn't it? Your brain's saying, no, don't do this, but I'm doing it.
I love that internal battle and hate it at the same time. It's just such a love-hate relationship.
I have to overlearn things. I do find it quite hard to learn things anyway, because it's just getting patterns into my head. And a song is a pattern.
Yeah.
The emotion carries me through. The story carries me through. So I always think of it from a story. That's why I like story songs so much, because it's a logic to it.
Does that make you like musical theatre?
Definitely massive musical theatre nerd.
I'm a huge drama kid.
We will bond over this.
My dream is to make my own modern musical.
Oh, great.
And one of my favourite musicals ever is from a guy called Todrick Hall. He's huge in America.
Oh, is it? Go on, what's this show?
Straight Out of Oz.
Yes, yeah. I've got a friend who's Wizard of Oz. I was obsessed and told me about that musical. It sounds amazing.
It's fantastic. It started off as just going to be a visual album, and he realised how he literally made it all in a week. He was writing the song, and then the next day they'd record the video, and someone would be mixing the tracks. And about halfway through the week, he was like, I'm killing this. I'm going to turn this into a complete stage show. And he funded it all himself, got like RuPaul and certain people to invest in
I bet he's neurodiverse.
100%. But he's fantastic. The whole story is basically he uses the Wizard of Oz aspects to tell his story of coming out. As a black young kid, and it is incredible.
Very nice.
I will definitely send it.
Yes, please. I'd love to see it. That's one I haven't heard, actually, so that's great.
Just I feel like you can help me make it. If we can ever make a musical, that would be incredible.
Definitely, yeah. No, I'd love to be involved. Yeah,
fantastic.
Do you find that when you meet people, you think in your mind you're like, they're definitely ADHD or they're autistic?
No, I do. Actually, I do. I've met people through my job where I've thought, 100%.
Yeah, I mean...
And you don't know what to do in that situation because you don't... Some people would react badly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not here to tell people what they are.
I'm not a qualified psychotherapist.
That mental note of like,
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because partly this platform is all about that kind of the signposting and capturing those people that are spinning and going, something's not right, that don't know why, or don't... And they know that they've got mental health problems. They know that they've got sensory issues. They know they've got problems in relationship. They know they've got problems at work, but they've not made the connection. That it's all to do with ADHD. It's not separate issues kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stigma attached to mental health that people can't talk about it, and it's such a shame.
It really is. I think I say it again and again. Women, there's equal struggles with gender equality, but men have such a harder time talking about these things, and it feels like there's a battle at the minute with this toxic masculinity versus masculinity and understanding the difference, and it's almost like a defense mechanism, and this anger towards the woke, realizing that it's actually the men that are ruining it for themselves. And I want to learn what is that golden ticket to get through to men, because it's not Jordan Peterson.
No, it's not.
Joe Rogan I can listen to, but you can't take everything he says as facts, because half of it is just pulling out of his side.
He's doing a good job with a lot of my kind of, like you say, manly male friends are listening to Joe Rogan, and they're starting to cold shower, and they're starting to really think about... They must be thinking about the fact that they feel depressed or that there's something different, because they're talking about microdosing. Why are they interested?
Applying these like bro therapy type things to it. If you're
why would you?
Science.
Why should it be different?
I'll do a cold dip. I'll do the sensory tank. I'll do this, and it's like just go to therapy.
Yeah.
Just talk to someone.
Just talk to
someone. Just realise your toxic traits, because there's going to be multiple people in your life that are affected by you being this way.
Yeah.
Absolute
and
game changer.
Yourself made more important.
It is a game changer. A lot. I'm more aware of how I am than I've ever been, and it's so helpful. And you can anticipate things, and you can plan a little bit, and you can try to just make sense of. You used to just get sad over certain things, whereas now I can think, oh, I know what that is. And you join the dots, and it just gives you a little bit of context and a bit of validation. You think, actually, there's nothing you could have done about that, maybe, or it's not entirely your fault. Yeah, definitely. The understanding, knowledge is power, and it definitely motivates you to do something about it. And
you can just harness it a little bit better. You can't necessarily change that you're going to have that over the top reaction to something, but you're prepared for it. You know you're going to do it, or you know why you've done it, and it just gives you that little bit of extra comfort kind of thing.
Yeah. I understand the fear about somebody who thinks they're maybe a little bit different and they don't want to address it.
Yeah.
I understand that because, hand on heart, there have been instances where, somebody that, you meet starts to, you're open about it, so you talk about it, and then they go, oh right, okay, it might be something like a job or a relationship or something like that, but you start to talk about it, and you're not quite sure how it's going to land, because some people will be like, oh, this is going to be great, we have all sorts here, or some people might say, okay, all right, well, we'll let you know, and deep down they're like, that's trouble, and that's a shame. That's just education, but I've been in that situation.
Fully, and it cuts to like the core part of us, doesn't it? It makes us feel like we've
do
actually got something wrong with us, rather than society has labelled me with this issue and I've got to somehow navigate it in this normal world.
But
sorry.
No. You know that this idea that the wrong thing isn't.
This is where I was going as well.
Did you see that documentary with Rory Bremner? Oh my God, he made a documentary about ADHD, right? The Impressionist. Rory Bremner did a documentary where he established, talking to anthropologists and other scientists and behavioural analysts, that there's evidence to suggest that people who are neurodiverse were a necessary part of the tribe, because they would go and find new pastures where there were new resources. Most people were frightened of going past the boundary that they'd set. And there was always this lunatic. They go, I'll go, whee!
That is me. That is always me. I'll do it.
And admittedly, now and again, one of them would get eaten by something. But on the whole, as a strategy, they would find the river, or they would find where the fruit was growing. There was something. They'd find new resources. They'd swim out into the sea, and all sorts of stories around. He just established this idea that this was a necessary part of society to function and survive.
I stand behind that completely. I've put that theory out there a few times, that actually it is a necessary part of progression, and it's our brains that are doing those things, those wild things that sometimes aren't landing and aren't working, but sometimes do.
That's the nature of it.
It's a modern understanding of these terms. Like I always say, procrastination. If you ever feel like you're embarrassed about being a procrastinator, just knowing the fact that during caveman times, that is the gene that kept us alive, because it stopped you just running out to that tiger with no preparation. You thought, actually, I'm going to hang back here a little bit longer. I'm going to make sure this spear's a little sharper.
I'm going to wait till they move on.
Exactly. Let them get the first lot. Like, it'll be full up after that, or whatever it is.
See, I think this point as well, I went to a seed talk in Leicester, and on stage, the guy was absolutely fantastic. It was that Professor James from the ADHD adults, and he raised the point about the caveman strategy thing, but the angle that he'd taken, and I was really like, I wanted to shout out, and he had said we could shout out because we were all ADHD.
We're all going to do it.
I was on my best behaviour for some reason, and he'd said about that he didn't think that theory was correct, but the angle that he'd taken on it was that ADHD is good for hunter-gatherers because we had all this energy, and he was saying, but that's the thing. As a hunter-gatherer, we wouldn't have had the focus, we'd have been wandering off. And I was like, no, that's the point.
That's the point of wandering off.
We were the inventors, or the ones that would watch something being done day in, day out and go, why are you doing it that way? Why not try it
We would make a ruckus. We would make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. So there'd probably only be kind of 5 ADHD brains to every 50.
Yeah. Well, that's all you need.
Yeah. But then that and again, that's what we mean by diversity, isn't it?
Exactly.
That a room with a diverse amount of people is going to come up with more ideas than. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we see in this group as less than and worthy. Of
rather than the jigsaw piece that fits with everything else.
Yeah, we're all like obscure pieces that all fit together.
I hope we get there. I do, because having 2 children who are neurodiverse, seeing their educational journey was horrendous. Bless them. And we didn't know they were undiagnosed, and but basically it was the school system. Time and time again. Sorry, I don't know what to say. I don't want to be rude. But.
I've worked in education for well over 10 years now, and it breaks my heart how many times I hear the same story. And I genuinely get to the point where I'm like, who is it working for? I support that many families and young people that it's not working for at all.
Definitely.
And I think what we're doing is creating this mass approach that doesn't work for anybody.
No,
we need a bit more individuality, an individualized approach type thing.
The whole nature. I mean, it's thrown education into question with this all recent artificial intelligence ChatGPT thing.
Oh yeah.
That the educational establishments are terrified of it, because when you tell somebody to learn some facts and regurgitate an essay based on those facts, ChatGPT can just do that in 10 seconds. Yeah. So what is the point of you having to regurgitate that content?
And that's all it's about, is regurgitating
all it is.
Wasn't it Einstein that said that what's the point in retaining knowledge that you can
get from a book?
Yeah,
that's it. He did say that, and it's pointless.
It's very counterproductive, isn't it? Because, like you say, you just return to that thing when you need it. You store the things you need. I mean, we're going slightly off track at the minute, but the thing that frustrates me the most with education is we are not teaching anything that's relevant.
No, we're not.
It's so irrelevant. I mean, I was teaching English the other day, and I've got these 4 creative brains in my class, and all of them with reading ages of about a 7-year-old and writing age about the same, but they're 15, 16, and they're creative. They want to do something, create something. And instead of me allowing them to just go with it, I've got to teach them the difference between compound sentences, complex sentences, and simple sentences, because they need to be able to regurgitate the difference between those 3 types of sentences
tick in a box.
just to get the qualification. But shouldn't it be enough that being, producing something, whatever you're producing, that should be the evidence kind of thing? But very, very backward.
You come across probably Sir Ken Robinson, who did that amazing video that schools are killing creativity. I remember it. It's amazing. One of the most popular videos on YouTube. Yeah. And he wrote a book called The Element, which is how different kids are. You need to just find out what their element is. Yeah. Always in his element is a phrase we throw away, but it's so on the money.
Yeah.
And
I've touched upon that before about the superpowers. One of the best pieces of advice that I was given was, you can't, say if you've got a class of 10 kids and one comes in with a new haircut, you can say, oh, I love your hair, dude, you had a new haircut. But he said, then you've got to bear in mind that in that next hour, you've got to find something about all 10 of those kids, because it's not fair to make one person feel special. Because the rest will feel the opposite. And for me, getting to know a class, I started applying that, where each of them had their own little superpower. They all had their own little private joke with me. And they'd listen into the other one's private jokes and laugh along and stuff like, well, you lot are mad. But they all had their own little connection with me. They all had their own superpower. And I think that's such a good way to approach teaching.
I think there's so much that can be done at schools that needs to be improved. I was at school, I don't know if it's since you was at school, this stuff had just got missed. Teachers didn't know what they were looking at. There's no therapy applied from a young age to try and understand or help a child to understand how their own brain works. It could help them so well. But I think the main, something I heard recently, it was actually a comedian that said it, shout out Rick Glassman, he'll never watch this, I'm sure, but if he does, manifested it.
I'm going to say, he won't never watch this. He's going to watch this.
Well, he's autistic, and he explains his childhood as not really understanding his autism. He just realised he was put in different classes and put to different schools, and he'd just go to the toilet, and he remembers a teacher in another class seeing him in the corridor and shouting, Ricky's on the loose, and it really stuck to him, because he was just thinking to himself,
Release the hounds.
I'm just going to the toilet, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Oh my God.
But he had such good parenting, like the nurturing that he got at home. He was constantly told, you're a good kid, don't you worry about it, you're a good kid.
We had the same
and from
problem.
that he could go to school, get this stuff, and it was like water off a duck's
back.
back.
He could deal with it.
And he said one of the most amazing quotes, that it's really unfair that we get established for us these labels before we have a chance of working out who they are ourselves, who we are ourselves. So he says, if you've got a strong family, a family situation, nurturing, and if you can go to school and it's maybe not that great, it's not going to affect you as much as someone that maybe that goes home and they're told that maybe they're the problem and that they need to work harder, which if you're neurodivergent, it's not about working harder.
No.
It's about finding that tool, that method that works for them.
It's a big ask of parents to be that aware, though. You know what I mean? If the schools don't know, what chance have the parents got?
And the parents probably
psychoeducation should just be
also.
It should be, we have neonatal nurses that look at why isn't this sort of understanding? I feel like it could easily be carried on as we have homework.
It could be
why not instead of homework we talk about our feelings and we talk about this and that. We teach the
because
parents
we're British.
as well.
That's why we're not going to talk about that sort of thing.
We need to get a lot more Americanized with our therapy, that's for sure. Some of them they're like, "Oh, I'm fine. I just really like to go."
Sure, it's like in with anger, out with love. Okay,
I love that.
So if somebody was watching this and was stuck about where to turn for therapy, how did you kind of find your therapist?
Do you know what? This is something that's bothered me for ages because I was dead lucky. I had a recommendation from a friend who'd been to therapy.
So recommendations is a good way to
go. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's not that it's unregulated or anything, but how do you know a good therapist is a good therapist?
Yeah.
Until you've had several sessions, and then you're kind of in, and you've spent money, or I don't know. There's a register for therapists, and you can say, do I want CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, or do I want different types of therapy? You can look for specialists, but I've been to a different type of therapy that was quite dreadful, and I feel like the person giving me therapy needs to be better at it than I am.
Yeah.
You should know more, because I was like, no, this isn't right.
Totally.
And so I was in that situation once, and so I don't know the answer, but personal recommendation is the number one thing.
Good place to start.
Ask your mates, and actually you might find out, oh, I didn't realise you went to therapy. Oh, okay. I've asked my therapist, isn't there a conflict of interest that you want people to keep turning up every week?
Within the principles and the it's almost like a psychotherapeutic oath that you feel, and this is why we have supervision. If your therapist isn't being supervised regularly, having their offloading their stuff to them, then because those things get picked up very easily by supervisors and stuff like that.
It's that's similar with my tutoring though, because I'm hired sometimes to prepare for SATs, sometimes to talk about kind of managing emotions or a difficult scenario. And when you let that student go, or you wrap up the intervention, it's a very bittersweet feeling, because you're going to miss them, but you just feel so proud that you've given them their wings, and you're like,
you've worked
you're ready
really hard with this person, you've seen their development, and when you realise that your sessions are just turned into chats, it's almost a little bit sad.
It's almost like you want a friend. I'm going to miss this friend.
That's not what a therapeutic relationship is.
No.
There is a difference between therapy and coaching, and that can be the halfway go-to sometimes, because we've featured Sedge recently, who is qualified, totally,
I think there's different needs.
Definitely. And although coaching isn't therapy as such,
no,
Sedge was one of the best therapists, or the therapy kind of sessions I've ever been with. So, but again, that was finding the right person that suited my brain.
You might not need to delve straight in, really deep into the past.
No.
You might not need to maybe you need something of a good decision making right now.
And she's got a psychology background,
understanding mindset. She's fantastic for everything like that.
Having conversation with people you trust in a safe space is what it is. Just getting it out there, and just
that first step of just talking. Doesn't matter who it's
just talking.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it isn't always the obvious people. It isn't always your family, and it isn't always your teacher or whatever. It can be just your mates.
Do you find that, do you overshare as an ADHD?
Yes, 100%.
I'm that person.
Oh, I'm like, the voice, sometimes that little voice goes, Jim, sure.
Yeah, this is the thing. So you're always watching it unfold, and
it's like slow motion train wreck. Like, what am I doing that for? I feel the need to get everybody on board, like on a shoot or something, really quickly, and then I'll make some
really bad joke,
really bad, inappropriate comment about my childhood or something, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So understanding you can be a successthul business in the position that you're at, and you're still walking away from conversations going, what did I say? Why did I say that?
You just have to talk to my team, and they'll be like, oh yeah, and they're like spotters. They're like ready to jump in at any moment and catch the clanger that what he meant to say was, or like, Jim, I think you need to go now.
That's amazing. I feel like that would get rid of my imposter syndrome so much. If I had two people that just went, she means this, I'd seem so much more business. Like, they've got it for me. I don't have to use correct words. I can say these people.
Yeah, he did not just pick his nose and eat it. He didn't. Oh no, am I on camera?
They've got a full campaign of press release that they need to sort this news out with.
Yeah, no, it's true. I overshare massively. It's irrelevant as well sometimes. All I'm trying to do is to say is, because vulnerabilities, that's slightly different.
Yeah.
Being able to talk with somebody one-on-one who, you have a friendship with or a relationship with or something like that. Actually, that vulnerability deepens the relationship, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. And actually, I was reading, I don't know if you know The Medium, it's a writer and bloggers platform.
Yeah, I read The Medium.
Brilliant. The Medium's fantastic.
Yeah, I do.
There's a story on there about vulnerability is the new sort of sexy time.
Oh, yeah.
Vulnerability is very hot.
Fully agree.
Apparently.
Tell me your deepest fears.
If you could,
some amazing magic.
If you could cry, that'd be great.
Oh my God. What is wrong with me? Why is that why is that attractive when a man can actually?
It's ugly crying. I don't know, but they call it ugly crying for a reason.
Ugly crying.
That's my only kind of crying.
No, I think but it the vulnerability is the opposite end of the spectrum to
Realness.
the toxic masculinity. They, I'm in control and nothing bothers me. And,
it's almost like why you enjoy like a candid shot maybe more than a pose
definitely.
shot.
Yeah, of course, 100%. They reveal more than the pose shot would ever do. Yeah, exactly.
Still got so much I want to ask.
I'm basically being held hostage at this point.
Yeah.
I can't leave.
You can't see, but he's actually he's actually
I'm
tied to
handcuffed.
this chair. We're very persuasive when we want to be.
Brilliant.
That's all.
Well, to be honest, before I go on to the there was something I wanted to cover in terms of when ADHD gets the better of you type thing.
Yeah.
But before we get onto that, just something we were just saying in the break was about the many hats ADHD people can wear. So in one respect, it's a massive strength because you can jump from, you just go in feet first, don't you? Like, I woke up one day, I'm going to be a teacher and I made myself a teacher. I'm going to be a writer, I made myself into a writer. I'm going to be a podcaster now, look, I'm a podcaster.
It manifests itself in my job because the director does it touches so many different departments.
Yeah.
It's design, it's music, it's the acting, it's the camera shots and the tech.
There's a lot of variety.
Within the job. And different directors have different strengths. There are certain directors that are really great at special effects because they've done a lot and they get what's possible. I get heavily involved in the music because I'm quite a musical person. So luckily I've got a composer who I can sit with and he doesn't get offended when I sort of go, what if we just change that and do this? He's very collaborative in his nature.
Process
very
really
lucky to have him. Because I do get, and I get a massive kick out of when he uses something that I've suggested, But it's because I can speak the language as well. And so having multiple interests just suits my job really well.
And that's something for my young people that I really want to encourage is that there are things out there that will suit your strengths. And a role like that where you're going from one thing to another can keep you really engaged and,
that's the thing.
Yeah, interested in what you're doing. But then it can become a real negative when people can't hold a job down, and that is one of the kind of ADHD traits and the negative ways to
hobbies as well, spending different amounts of money on different. I want to do this now. I want to do this now.
Yeah,
and then you've got
expensive.
all those unfinished projects and all these different equipments for.
At the minute, I'm talking to Danny on Instagram about. She tagged me in something. It said ADHD business plan idea. Like do an online site where you go and you put all your hobby stuff all in one go and you hobby swap. But I was like, mate, half the fun for me is the research of deciding what to buy and spending ridiculous amounts of money on all the equipment that
Nerding
I need.
out on it.
And then when I looked at the comments, quite a lot of ADHD people have put that saying but we've just been having a chat about how much money goes on all these hobbies.
Oh, I waste. It's like an ADHD tax, isn't it?
Definitely.
There is
about it.
Just this thing you buy, or there's several types of ADHD tax. There's the one where you've lost something and you buy it and you find it. So you've now got 7 of those items because every time you need it, you just buy it again. Like tape measures is one of mine. I've got about 50 tape measures because I can never bloody find it. And then the other thing about starting something and getting into something and going, I'm going to do that. The number of things that remain in their packaging because it was a great idea on the day. And you went, I've got a thing. I found it on Amazon's such a bad thing in some respects. Like I can just hit a button, I get bang, it arrives tomorrow. Amazon Prime, get in.
And at that price, how could I not?
How could I not? And I can buy 3 of them. And
And then there's the ADHD tax of forgetting, either doing things like parking on double yellows because you like, sorry, I can't be bothered, and then forgetting to pay fines, and then all sorts of kind of from that, just that lack of general organisation or being able to keep what you're doing next in mind can cause so much money.
The parking thing's a good one because I used to tell myself this story that I was insanely lucky with parking. Just that narrative, I'd sell it to myself, so I'd just park anywhere and then get a ticket now and again. But I'd go, on balance though, I'm quids in. I'm sure I'm up. I'll pay the 30 quid or whatever, but I'm sure I'm up on the deal. But actually, I'm probably not.
That's hilarious.
I just think I'm gifted in parking.
Gifted in rationalising.
Just selling it to myself.
That's definitely the other thing, isn't it? We can talk ourselves into and out of anything and can't trick ourselves. So people say, just tell yourself this. I'm telling myself that while my other voice is going, that's
good luck with that.
So plenty of strengths, but when ADHD gets the better of you then, on set or at work, there's lots of talks about reasonable adjustments. What can your employer do to kind of make ADHD better? And I think this communication is so important because people don't know what's going to support them. They've just been told they're ADHD. And the employer is scared to death of this whole area that might end up in lots of money and court cases. And
they don't want unpredictability and things to go wrong. I again, it's about spotting patterns and being self-aware of how you are. I was finding on the first morning of shooting in any project, I would overheat. There's a lot of pressure first day and all of that. In fact, every day for the first 10 minutes, just overheating. So I would take a towel in my bag and try and dry off, or a spare shirt. Because by lunchtime I was drenched. It was horrible. I was just boiling.
And that's an indicator you might not pick up on.
No, but I knew, but because your brain uses a lot of energy, and if you're masking or just processing and trying to keep ahead of things, it's very logistically difficult. I'm very lucky, and I've got a fantastic team around me who take a lot of the tasks away from me that I would be bad at anyway.
Delegation is really important.
And I have the writer, Rob McCollum, who writes the scripts for me, for all of us, is like my navigator. So he can go, okay, what's happened just before this scene is this, and just after the scene, this is where they're headed next. And I can, context, brilliant.
Can I have him in my life?
I think he's.
When I finish,
no, he's mine. But you probably could have him. To be fair,
you were saying this,
cheap,
and you were about
cheap.
to say this. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I know. Here's the context. It's like that footman that used to stand by the Queen, and a row of people.
The name instantly.
It's Duncan Goodhue, Mum. He's a swimmer. Go, and what do you do? I want that guy. I have got that guy. I've got Rob McCollum.
Shout out, Rob.
Yeah,
I'm going to train one of my voices to be more useful, because mine's more likely like when someone walks up, they're like, "Oh, doesn't that person look like a toad?" Tell them.
Tell them now.
Like, no, don't tell them.
Call them
possibly
Toady.
the most unhinged thing I've heard today. You realise that? Don't train your voice in your mind.
I'm going to train one of my voices in my mind to be on the ball and remind me where I was going.
I'm almost impressed. We'll update next week on how that's going.
I need the voice that goes, sure, now, stop talking.
The voice that controls the hand. Stop it.
Oh dear.
I'll do it through reinforcement, not punishment, because we've learned that reinforcement works better.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
So we've got this scenario then, you're overheating, there's too much going on. How do you...
Overwhelmed, lots to process.
Yeah.
And what we had a chat about it with the team, and they came up with the idea, would it help you if we just let you go and sit on set and sort yourself out quietly on your own?
Yeah.
While everyone's in makeup anyway.
So would this be before you
were needed to engage with the actors and engage with everything and just sit in the space?
Climatising.
And work out the shots and just read the words off the page again, and just to reform in your mind, what are we doing in the next hour?
Yeah.
And also just because there wasn't anyone else around, I didn't overheat as much.
Yeah.
And so just calm down and have a cold drink and just chill.
Do you think we do live in too much of a fast pace? Do you think that's partly what does cause our mental health issues? Like everything is so like
there's a lot,
and it's like
there's a pace that people like to work at, and there's no. I see it in my kids actually. My boy gets overwhelmed sometimes, and when we were in Tokyo, I was conscious that at the end of the day, he just wants to sit on the bed in his hotel room and just look at his and just plays games. And I used to wonder why. I said, you're always on your games. But then eventually I realised how useful they were to him.
Self-soothing.
Self-soothing. There were patterns, there were structures he understood.
Yeah.
They were, they were distracting. Yeah. And so it's a really sweet little story, this actually. He came to do some work experience on set, right?
Yeah.
And when he was 17 this year. And he's very handy. He's happy to... there's a lot of tech in this series. It's about cybercrime, so you might imagine. So lots of monitors to plug in and things like that. He went crawling under the tables and he was plugging in monitors. He's having a whale of a time sorting out technical problems. Really clicked into his thing. The guy that was one of the heads of art department, a guy called Adam, had a friend at school who was autistic and knew right away when Ray walked in and just thought, okay. And hadn't been told, just worked it out. Yeah. And he built him a nest out of the empty boxes from the monitors. He built him this big nest in the corner of the art department room that was like, you could sit in like a booth. It was like one of those photo booths with the curtain. And he could sit and my boy could just sit quietly away from everybody. And
how lovely is that?
And then play his game for half an hour and he was back on again. It was so
such
sweet.
A simple little thing that you can offer an employee, but it will make the difference to that return you get as a business. Putting that person in a thriving situation. It's brilliant. He got to experience.
It was so lovely. I remember seeing Ray get overwhelmed because when I was so proud of him being there, so proud of my boy, both my kids. And when he came on, I kept introducing him to everyone. So the cast, like he's been aware of it. He's seen all the other seasons. He knows who everybody is.
Yeah.
And they've heard about him. So people, one at a time, the cast will come over, and this is Ben. He plays Mark, and blah blah blah. You know. And then after about 4 or 5 of these, he goes, "Dad, how many more of these are there?" And a bit of me like, I'm doing that thing. I'm just overwhelming you with new people every 10 seconds. And I said, we don't have to do it.
He said it.
He did.
The fact he was able to voice that to you.
He did. And then I went,
shows your connection.
Let's go to the nest.
Nest time.
Nest time.
I'm constructing a nest in my house.
You should.
List.
Well, that's why when they were little, they really enjoyed making forts, putting a blanket over chairs. It's like, this safe space.
Yeah,
it's great.
And that's why when we had Kat on and she spoke about Esme and they'd spent all that money on different beds and then they'd finally got this big wrought iron thing that she wouldn't break and she went straight underneath it, made a nest and slept underneath it for years.
My eldest had a leg on stilts, so there was like 3 foot to the ceiling, not a lot of headroom, but underneath they put a curtain across and fairy lights and so they made their own sensory room
Fantastic.
themselves. It was brilliant.
Yeah. So, I mean, this book down here, this is about taking a chance on creatives. So is there any kind of would you like to do a shout out in a way to employers and to, I don't know, to say about how can we engage people that have got these brains? How can we get them into work and thrive?
Well, the first thing to understand is that businesses need these brains on board. I'm going to plug the TED Talk as well because it's about that.
Yeah.
But businesses are frightened of risk, right? And they see creativity as a risk.
Okay.
They see
they want a surefire process.
They want they get processes. They understand that. So I always sort of what you've got is 2 types of production company in the world. You've got ones that grew up through the technology and ones that grew up through the writing and the creativity.
Right. Okay.
And they smush in the middle somewhere, but they both learn from each other. But the different types can be described with a list of words. Like, so the technical one is like, it's a process driven thing.
Yeah.
We have software, we have special effects, we have equipment, we have a van to put the equipment in. It's all very like a business. It feels solid.
Yeah.
I've got a van with my name on, so I'm trustworthy. It's really odd. I know it's odd. It's crazy. And so businesses will give that, corporations will give that business a budget to work with because they feel legit.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other one is like the crazy-eyed creatives. Like the one in the basement. Did you ever watch Spaced?
I do remember.
Do you know the guy in the basement, the artist? He's like, up there and go, what do you want? It'd be nuts.
I don't know that.
This crazy creative artist. That's what a lot of people think creativity is. And corporations are like, I am not giving you 30 grand. No, just no.
Yeah, because we're not even seen as trustworthy that we're going to do anything.
No, what you're going to do. You and the thing about creativity is you can't tell the client what they're going to get until it's finished and the money is spent.
Yeah, it's not
really
quantifiable, is it?
It's very hard to
necessarily forecast.
You can do storyboards and pictures, but still the finished thing isn't going to be the exact same. So, and those words are, instead of process and all that, they are creativity and unpredictability and opinionated. And all of these corporations got no, we're not having.
I feel like this is where I've been set. Unpredictable. This one.
Which company wins all the awards?
I mean, I'm easily going.
It's a creative one.
Yeah.
You don't win awards for just it being neat and tidy and what you expected. You win awards when it's like, oh my, nobody was expecting that. It's better than we could have imagined. And that's
Do you know
the power
solace I take in that with this kind of production?
Yeah.
I
forget the tech. It's not important. It really isn't. It really isn't. Yeah. Sorry, I digressed a little bit there, but I wanted to make that difference that we need these incredible brains more than ever because businesses say they're innovative. They're not. They're just iterative. They change a little bit every year because it's risky. Yeah, not too much. Easy. But what kind of brain came up with? If I asked you what was the biggest hotel chain in the world, what would you say? Airbnb, and they don't own a single room.
Oh wow, yeah.
Right? Who thought of that?
Insane.
Yeah, and it was insane at the beginning. I'm not going to go to a stranger's house and sleep in their bed. Ooh, no, but now, Similarly, Uber. Those ideas didn't come from a little bit different, like, let's have a different taxi firm.
I had a conversation last night where somebody was saying about Netflix offered their business to Blockbusters to buy, and Blockbuster said
no.
streaming, there's no future in streaming, it will never take off. And then the same lad that was telling me the story,
well, you know, Blockbuster.
yeah, the same guy that was telling me the story
in America,
he said about when he went to first get his first mobile phone, and it was just a flip button, and that's what he wanted to make his calls on, and the guy was going, no, you want a Nokia for text messaging. He was like, why on earth would I want text messaging? He was like, you know, why would I want to write down what I want to say? And he was like, I'd have been the guy on Dragon Den that would have shut that down, and then, you know, text messaging was that. But I thought that's, I suppose, in a way where you can get stuck in what's right for you or what would work for you.
But it's a fear of risk as well.
Yeah.
It's risk averse, so you don't want to take a chance because it's going to be a lot of, you know, millions of dollars, and what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
But that's the difference. But it is the ADHD brain, dare I say it, or the creative brain
That takes
that takes the risks.
Yeah.
Would you find that this is why people maybe with ADHD find alternative ways of working, so not necessarily like 9 to 5? Maybe they're not as... Creativity might be one thing, but it's just the idea of not having that same thing every day, that monotonous...
I mean...
Yeah.
Robot
where people go
the
for
environments are terrible,
Yeah.
the timesheets and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, you
bizarre expectations that just feel like unmanageable.
Yeah, they are. And also it creates paperwork, and we all know how much we hate paperwork because it ain't going to get done.
Yeah.
It just isn't. It just isn't.
Even that early morning start is what actually did me. So I waitressed for years and years and years, and had flexibility with my hours and not really any particularly. I did some cleaning shifts, so I did have some early starts. But when I went first working into schools, that's when my mental health really started to unravel. Being forced to go to bed because I had to sleep, because I had to get up, and then every single morning waking up exhausted regardless of what time I'd gone to bed, because I was forced to wake up at this really early time.
Yeah.
And then for me, going into alternative provision, that's the way we support our students. Some of them, we give them later start times, and that's how they supported me to make sure that I wanted to work. So I think it's really important, because when I was younger, it was very much, you're lazy, get out of bed. I am not lazy. I will work till 3 a.m, but I don't want to get up till 10 a.m. My brain doesn't kick in till that
the
time.
opposite of lazy. It couldn't be further.
That's what I sort of talk about. One thing they don't tell you when you get acquired is that there are these corporate systems you have to now undertake. We were a small business, 10 people, and I didn't care if you didn't come in on Tuesday morning because you wanted to do your shopping when it was quiet. Because I knew that you might take a call on a Sunday afternoon about a thing that we're doing. I don't
So
abuse
the time you're here is way more valuable than...
I don't abuse that, but that we all know we can contact each other anytime, day or night. Different people work best in the mornings, and some don't, and it's all fine.
And even to be honest, that's something else that works for me in my work role, because they know I really struggle with being late. Really struggle. I'm usually late more often than not. But nobody stresses me out over it, because they know I'll always stay. I'm always working through my brain.
It's not you're not going to get the work done or anything.
Whereas in the past I've been penalised for stuff but not praised for it. And you just think, hold on a minute, like, you know, you're picking up on this one thing that's gone wrong that you know I struggle with, and all these where I'm going over the expectations is not being.
When I'm here, I get 10 times more done than anyone else. So why are we complaining about that the hour I'm not here in the morning? It is very bizarre, and it's why I'm not going to go into politics, but I will stand for socialism. Which is like...
I think, though, this is why, for me and the ADHD, and I always say to people, if you can find what you're good at and a skill and then make it into a business, or at least have some kind of interest, and then pick your working hours and not work for somebody as such, because I've never been able to find my boss is now really good, but I think
it takes a while to find that person.
And it can be really hard working for the man, working for the system. It can be very hard, I think, on the ADHD brain.
I think that's why I became a sort of ambassador for the creative industries, because I realised that was the perfect place for neurodiversity to thrive.
And this is what I was going to lead into, that if, you know, the tips and hints in this book and the guidance that this book gives is absolutely brilliant. I mean, you can see.
I'm so chuffed how many loads of notes and stuff.
Notes and pages folded.
You're now president of the fan club. You know?
But we're lucky enough that we've got copies of these to give away. So
we will
be very lucky viewers getting.
The details will be on screen right now, because
I'll take it from here.
Yeah, brilliant. You go for it.
This is if you want to work as a creative and thrive and make a living without burning out and without being taken for granted. This one is for really the clients. This is for businesses that want to work with the creative community and don't want to be like the 800-pound gorilla in the room that says, I've seen this thing on YouTube, I want it like that, which is the last thing a creative wants to hear.
Yeah.
And it explains how you can, describe the problem, not what you want, what you think you want. This is the book for clients. And so it's the yin and yang, freelancers and clients.
It's almost like you need the blue one for yourself and then give the green one to your boss or whatever.
That's it. And I sell more copies that way, so that's good, yeah.
That's a really good idea. Great business model. So I know that no one, unless you are part of an organisation, if you want to convince your organisation
that's the other thing, isn't
use
it?
these videos in your...
Convince the organisation.
Oh, right.
So much better than the...
Oh, bless you.
Well, why not?
Well, the company that funds all of this is my employers called Know Before.
Okay, yeah.
KNOWBE.com. And they part of what they offer is this training. There's a lot of traditional training on there, which is great. I always say that the videos we do are entertainment first, so you will watch them and you'll become a fan and you'll wonder why you're an expert in cybersecurity all of a sudden. You won't know why. But the other type of videos are very important. So I say that if I want to change the filter on my dishwasher, I don't need a drama. I want a guy called Bernard in Mansfield who's taking it apart and goes, if you've got the deluxe model, you just unscrew this here. Yeah, that's what I want. Just tell me where it is. Yeah? And those are very important. Both of those types of films are content is on the platform.
That's really cool.
But we're blessed to be making the stories that help change people's behaviour.
And then if people want to watch your TED Talk,
what's
the title of that? I'll put the link in the description as well.
It's called Do You Hear the People Sing? And it's
very cool.
I know, right? And it's if you Google TEDx Leicester Jim Shields, you'll definitely find it. Or Jim Shields TEDx will also get you there.
Very interesting. Maybe you can change it.
And interestingly, my name is spelt wrong on this video. Just letting you know.
How does that make you feel?
I can't let it go. It's fine because I think at the time there was a dyslexic member of staff. I didn't catch it because I don't do detail in that way, and it got through.
Funny enough, when I was writing this, I was so concentrated on whether it was I missed the H out, and I looked down. I'd written Jim Shields. I was like screwing it off.
So it can happen to the best of us. But anyway, no, it's worth seeing for a bit of fun. It explains a lot about why the books were written. So
fantastic.
And have you got any plans for any events or anything? Because I know that you get on stage sometimes. I mean, in February we had the open mic. How did that go?
Oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah, I didn't make it, and I was gutted.
We had a musical theatre open mic night.
Wow.
And
it was on Valentine's Day.
I saw the advert.
Yeah.
Is it in Loughborough?
I invited you. It was Valentine's
at the
Day,
Cask Bar, and it was Valentine's night. 15 singers turned up. We had a whole evening's entertainment. They did 2 or 3 songs each. It was spectacularly successful. Yeah. There will be another one. I don't have a date yet, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll definitely be.
I love doing those.
Yeah, definitely. And, that.
And as far as the comedy is concerned, I will let you know about dates for that. But I'm hoping to do Edinburgh. So I'm gonna.
That would be amazing if we come to the Fringe Festival.
I'm gonna do the Fringe. Oh, you should. You should definitely. Do
I just find it so interesting that yesterday we had like a pre-podcast meeting with another guest kind of thing, and he's into so many similar things. We're into this, and you just end up thinking, "Oh my god!"
So
like this whole kind of.
I understand how you can easily make a community out of these people.
Yeah, exactly. He was like talking about
things.
Edinburgh Comedy Festival and stuff, wasn't he? So it's like cool. I feel like between all these people that we're meeting, it's going to really drive us to push ourselves, because to get on stage would really push me out of my comfort zone. So
can I do one little tiny shout out if we've got 2
30 seconds? Yeah,
I just want to. Recently, I had the pleasure of going to Nashville, Tennessee, to a creative event. An innovation summit. All of the creatives from the organisation that I work for, got together and had this event. And one morning I ran a mental health group just to talk. It was a pre-breakfast thing, so it's like you had to get up early and be there. So nobody will be there, but like 4 people, and like 20 people turned up. And it was really a wonderful group. And now I'm trying to organise monthly calls where we all just check in with each other.
Oh, lovely.
And I just want to say, guys, you are special and we need you.
Shout out.
Yeah, this stuff doesn't make itself. You guys are responsible for it. My door is always open. So
that's really
very
awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Nashville peeps, that's amazing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
They're from all over the world. They're from all over the place.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just Nashville that
that's where the meeting
originally
was. That we have in Germany and in the content creators all over the world.
Shout out
individuals all around the world.
So the Know Before courseware people, the content creators for Know Before, the best in the world. So
Fantastic.
So do you want to ask the guest question?
Yeah, I've not asked anyone.
No,
this week,
yeah.
so I'm quite excited.
Oh no, I don't know about, I don't know about
it's
this.
the final-
no.
Everyone gets this same feeling, don't they?
Oh no.
So we
Go on.
ask everyone. It doesn't have to be within your field related. It's just a general question we give to everyone because I'm loving the answers we're getting.
Okay.
If you could give any bit of advice to young Jim,
Oh my God.
Any
What a
bit.
great
anything in
question.
life, what
Oh
would
my
it be?
goodness.
And there's a reason you're on the spot right now.
Oh, buy Google stock.
That is so strange
is
because the lad
amazing.
yesterday said I'm not going to say it, but he said something so similar. Like, what the hell?
Or Amazon, but either
Brilliant.
way, yeah.
Brilliant.
Now I want to see if this is a gender thing because that would actually differentiate the women that we've had very similar answers from women. You know, believe in yourself.
Oh,
You've
right,
got
yeah.
this, blah, blah, blah.
A very practical
And men are
advice
giving
from
financial advice.
practical. You could have made it.
You could have made a
took
fortune if you just, bet on Amazon. Yeah.
Ignore Andrew Tate. Listen to the men at the end of these podcasts.
Yeah,
Please
they are
get your
there.
sound
I'll
financial
tell you
advice.
what,
Get you.
I do have a less financially based one, which is look at consciously try and attach yourself to a good mentor. And that might not be somebody you expect. It might not be a family member or somebody at work. But if you get out there and do things like you volunteer for the local theatre and you just go to groups or learn to salsa dance, whatever it is, you may meet somebody who has been around the block a few times and is a good person to talk to. I've had some great mentors and they have saved me. There's no doubt.
Fantastic. I fully agree. I feel like just from meeting you today, I feel like I have gained a mentor
Oh,
myself.
bless
I've
you.
really enjoyed this and
I'll
you've
be
been
honoured.
so helpful.
Oh, bless
I don't know
you.
how well you can see this, all the equipment that's being used here. This podcast is possible today due to Mr. Johnson. So thank you so much. And you're definitely that mentor to other people. It can't just be me, I'm sure Lindsay.
Aw.
agrees,
Yeah,
so.
definitely. It's almost like that kind of you've created the person you needed when you were young, and now
Yeah.
you are that person.
Yeah, and I'm
Which
happy.
is-
I work with
inner
lots of
child
creative
is
companies.
happy.
It's fun. Yeah, exactly. All right.
Well,
Fantastic.
Bring it
yeah.
in.
yeah, I'm going to say this has been a different
Yay.
podcast. Then.
And we will see you on. Trying to set you up with the easiest. The next one. I'll see you on.
Oh, so this is in you trying to. I don't understand what the cue is.
The same channel, same day. Well, I don't know.
I will see you on the next one. I will see you
I'll
next.
see you next episode.
time.
Next
okay.
episode.
I was like, are you trying to get me to say the date? Because it's the 28th. You'll see us on the 28th. Like.
We'll see you on the 28th live on A Different Human Design.
Yeah, good luck finding us. I don't know. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for
Thank
watching.
you.
Thank you, Jim.
You're
for
welcome. Thank you
us
for
in
having me.
your house.
It's been a joy. It really
It's
has.
been great.
It's been amazing.
Awesome.
We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
And we're out.
All I can hear in my head is it go, why? Why is it like this? Study.
Oh, you're right. Manage.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you in?
I'm in.
Oh, God.
The amount of different.
Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love we invite in. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love we invite in. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous.